weekly basis to sort of keep your team focused. Keep your team focused on sort of where they're going. I mean, obviously, you got to recruit a bunch of people to get people in PFSU, to get them to take the test. I mean, what are you doing, obviously, to get 100 people licensed when there are huge organizations out there, you know, recruiting 100 people a month, but they've only got 20 people licensed in, you know, this year. So you obviously have a system of keeping people focused on the future. So tell us sort of what you're doing, and then I'll get the guys to cover.
Maybe some nuts and bolts on licensing. The company's new success licensing, the coaching system, those components are all things we've been doing for about 18 months. When you really look at the company's process, calling people before, meeting them, I address every PFSU class. We teach it every weekend now. The company is looking for, you know, if you're doing 20, 30, 40, 50 recruits a month, they'll have that conversation with you, having more classes available. We follow up. We have the great David Dowers available for instruction, practice tests, review, seeing where they're at, where they're weak, what they got to do, just getting them on the system, feedback, you know, here's how you get that 80%. You know, we're just trying to touch every part of the system, but it's all about the relationship and them knowing we're here, we work for you. How can we help you get it done fast? Stirring up a little competition, recognizing every Thursday night, every week at the OC meeting, we recognize licenses, production advancements, just making a game out of it. Competing.
So what I'm hearing you say is that you guys are totally focused on every integral part of the recruiting, training, licensing, PFSU. You're sort of focused on every integral part, and it takes a team effort. You and David, and obviously the staff that you have. I mean, all the team you have. You're totally focused on that one thing, and because you're focused on that, it's going like this. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, we're not where we want to be. We're still, getting it better. We're working out the kinks. But it's work. We've made progress. We're not where we were. We're not where we want to be. But we've just taken action, refined it, gotten better, and shown up every day to make it better.
Okay, Thurl, I'll hand you the mic here. You can talk into that. Let me ask you along that same line. You're a relatively new RVP, so you're sort of running your own business now, and obviously you've got a great leader in Kara and David. But along those same lines of getting folks licensed, one of the things that I can recall is that you really, I mean, human nature takes over, and one of the things, don't do today what you sort of put off till tomorrow. And we've always had people say, they'll turn their licensing papers in, and well, I'll do PFSU next week. Oh, I got to get the washing machine fixed, or oh, the kid's got a soccer game, and there's always something that gets in the way. So what are you doing to get your team in the loop, and one of the things we talked about a while ago is accountable to get them into PFSU, get them licensed, pass the test, and so on. So what are you guys doing with that?
A lot of what we do with our team is when a person has done their IBA and put that in, we have an orientation that we do one-on-one with the person that recruited them, and if they're very new, of course, it's going to be the field trainer. A lot of times I'm involved, and part of that process is we as a part of our orientation pack, the licensing, pre-licensing paperwork is included. We make sure it's filled out correctly as much as possible, so we don't have delays there. When we get folks on board, and like Kara was saying, a lot of the process and the success now is something where we're kind of already doing before, where we go ahead and get people scheduled for PFSU right then, and the closest one possible, because of the classes, basically every weekend. We try to get folks in class like right then. I mean, I have people that are licensed with us now that might recruit on a Wednesday or Thursday. They're in class Saturday. I have a guy,
that is really critical.
Josh Baranski, who's very, very new with us. He's been with us 30 days, got licensed in 2 weeks. And he got laid off on a Monday, recruited on him a Thursday, was licensed the next Thursday. And it's all about follow-up, because when you do the orientation, and if the paperwork doesn't get in, or if it gets sent back, or something of that nature, then making sure it gets taken care of. Making sure we always have somebody coming by to monitor our people at PFSU. Usually 2 or 3 of our teammates over a couple of days will come by and kind of check up who made it, who didn't make it. If someone didn't make it, let's find out why. Let's stop by their house, make sure they're awake, if that's the case.
Yeah, I think that goes back to the accountability thing. I know a lot of the offices, Kara, have, they'll meet their teammates at PFSU. That way, the person that's coming to PFSU knows that Kara Dowers is going to be there waiting for them to sort of get their butt in the seat. And so I think that's the accountability, is real important. But you said something, Thurl, that I think is really important, and that's that follow-up, and I mean, to get somebody like Josh, who's sitting in the audience here, to get him into that cycle. Now, obviously, there are states, around the country where you can't get licensed in 2 weeks. But if you could take advantage of the licensing system, and I think, again, it goes back to leadership. One of the things that we tried to do, and we talked about this just very briefly in one of our little meetings here, is we sort of knew what the system was. We sort of knew, what the little shortcuts were, and what, how we could sort of circumvent some of the things to get our guys, into PFSU, get them licensed, get them to test, quicker. Eugene, you're a regional leader, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you're on the cusp of becoming an RVP, and so one of the things that you've got to do is you've got to develop your own system. Obviously, you've got great leaders to follow, but tell me, what are some of the things that you're thinking about now, to get to RVP, to get those people licensed, to build your team? What sort of goals do you have and plans do you have, and what are you doing, obviously, every day to sort of put all that stuff in place to get there? Because, obviously you're trying to be an RVP, you're a lifer, you want to do this. I've listened to you speak, I've heard your story, so I know you're one of the great ones. You could be one of the great ones. How are you going to manifest that? What are you going to do to get pushed through regional leader and get to RVP today? Because really, that's really where it's at. So tell us about that.
Well, I honestly, Rusty, I think the first key thing for me, and this happened about a year ago, and quite honestly, it started with Brett Burks, and that was understanding numbers. For a long time, I fought the numbers. I thought that I could turn anybody into a regional vice president. See, I had a training background, and so I thought, this person I could turn into an RVP. And then what I started to realize very quickly was you don't turn people into RVPs. You find people that are RVPs and you plug them into a system. So I think once we started to understand that, the power of recruiting, and then the mentality of recruiting, sort of what I talked about today, the business owner mindset instead of the employee mindset, was that once you understand that, you understand the numbers working for you. We've been consistently double-digit recruiting for the last year now. So once I went full-time, we've been double-digit recruiting from the beginning. And once you understand those numbers, if you double-digit recruit every month, you're going to come out with 2 to 3 licensed agents every month.
Right.
And so I think once you commit to the numbers, then it's just a matter of fine-tuning your processes to get more efficient at coding more people. All right, so I think the 2 things I could sort of add to the conversation is, and number 1, we're on top of all of our people all the time. All right, so I know exactly where they are. I've got a list of exactly the 18 people that can get licensed this month, where they are in the process. And then we'll even go to the point to where, I think a lot of people are so scared to study. They've gone through the class. We'll go sit and study with them if I have to. If we have to take that extra step so they feel confident going into the test. We have a lady that just passed her test the other day, and I was at her house for 2 or 3 hours, working with her the day before the test so we could make sure that she felt confident going into that environment. I think that's one piece. I think the second piece is to use the bonus to your advantage. So if you get somebody off to a fast start, they've got their 2 recruits, their 2 life sales, and they know they've got money sitting out there, and they get their 4 and 4, they know they've got $500 on the line. Well, that's a huge incentive for somebody to go get licensed. So once you can use that leverage there, I think that's another huge piece. But I think it's putting all of it together, and then when everything started clicking for us is we understood the numbers, we understood how to close, and I think when you start getting all those things to come together, that's when you can really start building business.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And Kara, let me turn it back over to you for a second. But I think one of the things that we talk about all the time, you got to plug people into a system. But if you plug people into, a system that's not sort of fine-tuned, or a system that's not proven, it's sort of worthless. And I think what I'm hearing Eugene say, it's really important, like going over to this lady's house. Dana's house. Okay, we talked to Dana yesterday. Going over to Dana's house and getting her, those things. That's what great leaders do. That's what people that are on fire do. That's what people that are confident in the future do. Okay, so Kara, tell us about your system. About how do you move people through the system? What are some of the things that you're doing on a daily basis. Obviously, you gotta recruit them, okay, you know, you get them to come to an op meeting, and what are you doing post-op meeting to get people plugged into the system, to get them licensed, to be able to do the stuff that you're doing?
Well, first of all, say we don't have a perfect system and we're not perfect at applying it, but we're better than we used to be. And so it's just, you know, I told Eugene this the other day, I'm like, how come we're not getting more people promoted to, you know, just because we haven't focused and taught on it enough. So that poster in our conference room that you saw, that just went up on the wall about a week ago. I'm like, we just got to get it out there. I mean, I think I'm focusing on it, but clearly we're not focused enough.
Right.
So, you know, our basic system is we don't really do any cold market stuff with the exception of a few career fairs. We're in a warm market. We get to the kitchen table. Months ago, we got better at taking the front end, the point of contact, to where we don't let them leave until we've gotten a list. You know, and you guys, some of you have heard my script, but where I just say, hey, do you have 10 more minutes? And we get their cell phone down on paper. And I set up the first 2 or 3 kitchen tables and the first 2 or 3 interviews on the spot. So they see results, they see the system, they see how we interface with their warm market. They see that we're professional, we're nice, we're kind. We're going to get out in that warm market. You can be at the kitchen table tonight if you want to be, and tomorrow night if you want to be. So, you know, understanding the world we live in right now is that people don't set appointments for a week from now and keep it. You can't be setting up next Monday after Thanksgiving and think you're going to do that appointment. In reality, you're not. All you can do is go, who can I get in front of today and tomorrow? Tomorrow be thinking about who can I get in front of Monday and Tuesday. We all know Wednesday, the vast majority of people, they say they can meet, but they go, oh, I forgot I got to go to Kroger and get all my pumpkin pie and my turkey. We know that going in, but we can call today and get in front of somebody in the warm market if we choose to take control of it. We're in a different world than we were 15 years ago, where people set an appointment and kept it. So we understand that. We understand that the you know, some people, they're going to fall out of that system, and they may not even be around tomorrow to go do that appointment. That's just the world we live in. People don't follow through. We've got to understand that for what it is. I'd rather find out in the first 24 hours that they're a flake than find out 6 months later they're a flake.
That's true.
Right? Let's figure that out now, right? And then we you know, we get them to the meeting, and we got to get better at this, getting commitments to get people to the meeting. Everybody comes to a meeting. It's not just people that we're going to recruit. No, if you're not coming to work with me, you definitely need to come to the meeting so you can see the office, see other people making good decisions, get more information, become more knowledgeable about finance. I don't really have a shot to help you if you're not at least committed enough to your own finances to get your butt to the meeting with your spouse. So again, that's a litmus test. Are you committed or not? So getting them to the meeting, getting follow-up scheduled. We got to get better. You know, part of this is we have so many new people. Things that we know fundamentals is like, oh man, we got to just do better at everything. Getting the follow-up at the meeting, not setting appointments to set appointments. I'll call you tomorrow. No, and I think now more than ever, because of technology and the fact that people work 2, 3, 4 jobs, if you're with a live person, you may not be live with them face to face ever again. You have to seize that moment, whether it's the orientation, getting the list, whether it's the interaction at the meeting, or if it's at the kitchen table. We never used to sell on the first visit. We just didn't. But you know what? There's a very good chance you will never see that person again if you don't sell on the first visit. Yes. And plus, nobody has coverage anymore anyway. So there's a magic question that says, if we could get you properly protected today and it was affordable, would you do that today? It's a very simple question. It's either yes or no. If it's yes, I'm going ahead. If it's no, then I go, well, you know, if not, why not? You have nothing now, and I break down the objection, and then I ask the question again. And if it's still no, then I have to really question, if it were affordable, you know, why wouldn't you go ahead? I really have to question, is there a need for me to come back? And not that I won't come back, but I've got to find that out. So duplicating that system, I want to share one thing I picked up when I went to my securities training in Dallas, called an authority statement. Because I think we do so much and we're so good, we sometimes don't know how to articulate it. And you guys are probably tired of hearing it, but Rusty Land maybe hasn't heard it, is that Mr. or Mrs. Client or Miss Interviewee or casual conversation neighbor across the back fence, John, most people have never had a chance to meet someone like me that has the knowledge, the access, and the resources to the entire world of money and finance. Typically, that's been reserved for the very, very wealthy who pay a lot of money to get answers to their financial questions and concerns. If we decide to work together, we're never going to ask you for a fee to answer all those questions and concerns. Fair enough? Well, that authority statement, I've had people just go,
Seriously?
I mean, it's like they hear me. You know, what do? We help people, become property protected, debt-free, and financial. Well, you say that, and it is true, but it's like it goes across, but when you deliver that authority statement, people, they get that. Well, we're teaching our brand new people to say it. It's not them that have all the knowledge, all the access. I don't have all the knowledge, but I got people on speed dial, right? And so separating ourselves from the crowd, seizing the moment right now, understanding the world is like, you got to seize it now. You got to get the list now. You got to call now. You got to be in front of people now. You got to have in class now. You got to get the paperwork in now. I mean, the world moves fast. We got to move with it, adapt our systems, have integrity to get better at the system, to always apply the system, because systems always work. It's just that our commitment and our skill and our dedication to the system is sometimes lacking. And then find the ones that want to run, and you can't mess up the right people. I got to say, Eugene helped. He's a systems trained background. He really helped us get systems in place and tune up what we had and get better at everybody knowing what the system is.
Well, Kara, just right off the top, what you just said, that short little 2 or 3 minute segment right there, I believe was worth the price of admission, don't you think, guys? You articulated it so well. Where were you when I needed you? Because one of the things, truly, what Rusty Crossland tried to do was he always tried to separate himself from everybody else. And, I didn't articulate it like you did, but I would always try to let people know that number one, the company was different and that I was different. And that the things that I would say to you and the products and services that I would offer to you, I was worth it. And I was worth it, but I have to prove that worth to you. So therefore, that's why we need to sit down and talk. So I sort of preempted it that I was worth it, but I had to prove to the people that I was worth it. That's how I was trying to get my appointment. But you did it just a wee bit better than I did. Okay, Thurl, here's, and Eugene, I'm going to give you the same questions as we close this segment. Okay, you're a new RVP. You've got a whole new world open to you out there. What advice would you give to the folks out there? We probably have a lot of new RVPs, out there in the audience, or guys and gals that are just sort of, maybe even they're struggling a little bit with this. What advice, could you give them to sort of get them sparked to really get this thing moving in a big way? Because obviously, as a new RVP, you're excited. It's like Christmas. You get to open up a present. Here I am. I get to play with the toys for a while. Okay, but then the toys sort of get old. They get broken. They put aside. And maybe you hit a lull. Maybe you haven't gotten there yet, but you'll get there. So what's some advice to the team out there? What would you say to them as new RVPs? Just to sort of get things going. What would you tell them to do?
Rusty, that's a great question, because I know that when we first got promoted, it was like December 20th, so it was almost the end of the year. And so my first full month as RVP was January of last year, and it's brand new, and it's, you're like a deer in the headlights. And so with our MIT class was at April, and you're looking at, you're in this room with 80 or 90 or 100, however many it was, other RVPs that just got promoted. And the first thing that you have to get over is that little voice that says, "Do I really belong? Can I really make this happen? Can I really do this?"
Yeah,
and I think
you're just sort of doubting yourself.
Right. And so one of the first things that John Addison addressed this, and this goes back to answering your question, is if you made it to this point, you deserve to be here. If you made it to this point, get that out of the way so that you can get focused on building a business, because your business doesn't start until you become a regional vice president. I remember that when we gave up our replacement, I think we were down to maybe about 11 codes. Now we're up to about 45, 46 codes in about 22 months. And not that that's spectacular, but the mentality was, okay, we're now RVPs, we're representing the Dowers hierarchy, we're representing the company, there's so many people counting on us. We have to really go to work now because the spotlight is on you as a new RVP. So the first thing that I focused on was making sure I stayed personally productive and personally accountable. And not in the long term, that's what you want to do for years and years and years and years and years. But there's a period of time where you've got to be the best personal recruiter. You've got to be the best person getting out and doing appointments.
Absolutely true.
And so over that time, there's been several times where in our builder schools and things of that nature where, I've had to be, I've been in the top 5 or 10, whatever, in personal premium or personal recruits. But the point is, when your team sees that, and these are brand new people that don't know anything about anything, and if the coach of that team is rolling up their sleeves and getting to work and making it happen, it leaves very little room for misinterpretation that you get here without doing the work. So for a new RVP that's out there, fairly new, and they're saying, okay, I've hit that plateau or hit that wall, get excited about your opportunity to build it again, because you don't really start the thing until you get to RVP. And the opportunity, like you were talking about last night, thank God for the opportunity to be able to now cut the light on and build your business.
Right.
So that's
So you're not there yet, all right? But you want to get there. So tell all the folks out in the audience, because obviously you're a bright guy. Tell all the tell all the folks out there in the audience sort of what you're doing to position you and your team, to get through that threshold of becoming an RVP. And there are obviously there are the numbers you have to do, but there are other intangible things along the way, mentally and physically. You got to think about, how am I going to sort of get over that hump? So sort of tell us your plan, and help these other people out.
Yeah, I think, Rusty, the number one thing has been our mentality the entire time, right? And so I've had a lot of other RVPs or even people from the home office that have asked me, they said, well, when are you going RVP? Right? They always ask, when are you going? And I think that's the wrong question. I think the right question is, how are you going RVP? Right? So the thing that I'd always talk to Care about is, look, we're not going until we're doing 50 by 50. Right? So the mentality was always, we got to build it big and we got to build it fast. And so I think that, I think most people, they just go, well, I just want to get to RVP, and they think that if they get to RVP, they'll start making money. That's not how it works. Right? You have to make money as a regional leader. You have to make money as a district, as a division. Then when you get to RVP, the real money kicks in.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
But I think that mentality in selling a huge vision, because the reality is that if you're doing 10 by 10 or 20 by 20, you don't have a replacement money. Maybe a 20 by 20 you do, but our goal was to always say, we want to set the all-time record. Our first year on the RVP contract in cash flow. And so I think when you start selling a huge vision, I think you attract the kind of people that you are, right? So if you sell a huge vision, right, people start buying into that, you start finding the right kinds of people. And the reality is that even though we've been double-digit recruiting now for the last year, we're just now in the last 3 months, I think, have found the people that will probably take us to RVP. The reality is I don't think we know, and that's the mistake I've made so many times before. Right? Because I think we've got the right people in our business, and then all of a sudden what we stop doing, we stop personally recruiting.
Right.
Right? And so this has happened 3 times in my business. I said, no more. Right? So now, when in the last 3 months I think we found them, now my resurgence and sort of my refocus has been on personally recruiting. So right, we've done 4 personal recruits last month. Again, the goal is 4 to 6 this month, and then 6 to 8 the next month. Because I think then we start accelerating into the RVP promotion instead of going, okay, we've just made it, and so now we can sort of coast. And the reality is that that's not true. And so I think the mentality has been the biggest thing, is that you got to build it big. You can't just coast to RVP. I think I've seen a lot of people take RVP promotions, and then I watch them struggle, and that's not what I want. I'd rather build it and have it solid, and it's that mentality of selling that big vision.
I love what you just said. I love what you just said about coasting to RVP. That's I think if anybody's got that mentality, they're missing the boat. You don't coast to RVP. RVP, you got to you gotta go do something, do that, and fish that's kind of.
No, I think that was it.
Okay, well, just, and just a reflection, and we'll let you all go, we'll finish up here. But the key, I think, in building a business is, Art always taught us that attitude was everything. And as we were telling the group this morning, I've always believed that this business is about how you feel and about what you do about how you feel. And so if you feel there's a calling for you to go out there and be somebody and do something and become an RVP and build a business, I mean, that's what you're going to go do. And if you're just in this thing, just to make a few extra bucks, and to sort of, I mean, this is not like the Moose Lodge or, the Lions Club. I mean, don't please, no cards, no letters. Okay, this is not a mutual admiration society, okay? But all those things are great, but this is a business. And so we want you to be in this thing and go to work. And what you guys have talked about today, your authority statement thing, I mean, that's something that's going to stick with me, and I'm going to start talking about that. Thank you for sharing that, Kara. So we've got, a lot of work to do. We've got things we got to do. One of the things that Art always talks about, life's a pain in the butt. And life will basically, give you whatever you're willing to accept. And if you're not willing to accept certain things, then you got to figure out a way how to get around them, get through them, get over them, and get past them. And I think you guys are doing such a great job at that. You're role models, for the rest of the company. And so we're really grateful to have you on the team. Thurlow, Eugene, Kara, you guys have done a great job. Thank you for being with us.
Can I add one thing,
Yes, you
Rusty?
may.
We're going to represent you in the hierarchy on PFN.
Oh, that's right.
December 3rd.
That's right.
This group right here.
Right.
And we want to take as many Arkansans as we can and Texans that want to drive from here to Atlanta, fill up the studio audience.
Okay,
when we
great.
broadcast live, and go tour the old home office and then go tour the new home office. So put that on your schedule. Sunday the 2nd, come home the evening of Monday the 3rd.
And I'm sure you're going to tell the audience there at PFN that Rusty Cross will taught you everything you know.